You one day in a little toy shop, buy a bag of balloons with the money we got, set them free at the break of dawn, till one by one they were gone. Back at base, bugs in the software flash the message, something's out there, floating in the summer sky. 99 red balloons go by. There's something here from somewhere else. The war machine springs to life, opens up one eager eye, focusing it on the sky where 99 red balloons go by. 99 Decision Street, where 99 ministers meet to worry, super scurry, call the troops out in a hurry. This is what we've waited for. This is it, boys, this is war. The president is on the line as 99 red balloons go by. Nights of the year, right? Super high-tech jet fighters. Everyone's a superhero. Everyone's a Captain Kirk, with orders to identify, to clarify and classify. Scramble in the summer sky as 99 red balloons go by. As 99 red balloons go by. 99 dreams I have had, in every one a red balloon. It's all over and I'm standing pretty in this dust that was a city. If I could find a souvenir just to prove the world was here, and here is a red balloon, I cry for peace and let it go.
If there be but 100 of us remain alive, never shall we, under any condition, be brought under anybody's idea of a new world fucking order. It is, in truth, not for honor, nor for glory, nor for riches that we are fighting, but freedom. That one thing alone which no honest person would give up save with life itself. Once we were warrior poets. For now, and only now, we must stand for peace. I don't know about 99 red balloons, but it feels like I had 99 drinks last night, so I'm a little bit hungover. I'm never dishonest. Welcome to my new TARDIS. Do you know what TARDIS stands for? Time and relative dimension in space. That might be important as we move along this afternoon. But Alex and Glenn, how are you? How are you getting on, Alex?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Sun's out for once. Well, sun's been out quite a lot lately, but it's not too bad.
I think it's. I think it's what we call summer. I'm not sure what you call it in Scotland. No, it's a similar thing, I think. But yeah, I'm fine. Struggling by as usual, but we're here. We're all here despite whatever, and we're all ready to go. I hope, unlike what I was about 5 minutes ago, in a complete panic. But never mind.
Well, in Scotland, you can tell it's summer normally because the rain's a little warmer than it is in winter. And also, you can have 4 seasons in one day very easily. But yes, it has been remarkably dry recently. Here's something to know, and I don't know whether the two of you have realized this or noticed it. Even though the ambient temperature can be, I think it's about maybe 12 or 13 degrees Celsius here today, ambiently. But when the sun breaks through and you feel that sun in your skin, you can actually feel. Yeah, it's like putting your hand inside a fucking microwave. You can feel how hot the radiation is. Anyone else notice that?
Yeah.
In other words,
black trousers not a good idea. Male wise. No, I'm just saying. I was sitting in the sun earlier in black shorts, and I don't know what the female anatomy is like, but the male anatomy is not really designed to be scorched. So that's how hot it was. It was pretty hot, but yeah, it was fairly cloudy as well. You know, sun and cloud. But when the sun was out, it's quite fierce. Sorry.
Bizarrely, we're having the same sort of lag as last week. Alex, I'm going to ask you to leave and come back in, and we'll see if that solves the problem. And I'll tell you why I think it might, Glenn. It's because Alex is still in the same area that they have down pat. Whereas I've moved and they're still struggling to catch up with my IPS because I'm using VPN. So with Alex leaving and coming back in, I now am in control of the studio. You got me? Here she's coming, hopefully.
Yeah, she's here.
Yeah.
Hopefully. There we go. Okay. Let's see how that. Okay. Right. So well, we're all alive. Let's start from there and let's just be grateful of that. Brilliant show Friday night, Glenn, as ever.
Thank you, mate.
I think the quote that I loved the most was, "Here's a picture of this ancient Greek. Looks like Ian with a pointy hat."
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know I'm old. So, where do you start? Okay, you guys kind of covered the election results. on Friday. Now, you'll note now that the dust has held that what I predicted for Scotland, bang on. They didn't need to have fucking elections. They should have just asked me, and I could have told them. The SNP were going to win, but with a much reduced majority, and they'd have to go in fucking coalition with the Greens. Bada bing. The hidden part of that is that the attendance, the turnout was way down. Way down. I don't know what the official figures are, Alex. Maybe you can quickly fucking have a rattle and see. But I think probably across the country, it was not much more than 50% turnout.
Yeah.
I spoke to a number of people this week and told them, you know, my thing about voting just being an adult form of writing a letter to Santa Claus. And they all agreed. Everyone agrees. Most people thought just, you know, you've got to vote. You know, we fought for a vote. We've got to vote. No, look, we don't live in democracy anymore. That's gone a long time ago. We live in selections and we live in dictatorships. Queer Starmer says he's hanging on. He's not going anywhere. Well, he, you know, the long knives are out. He's gone. But in one of his most recent statements, he said, if you don't like the changes that we've made, you can fuck off. Just like Baerbock told the German people, we don't care what the voters think or want. We're going to do it anyway. That's the world we live in. Trump doesn't give a shit what the American people say or want. He's just going to do it anyway. You got me? Glenn, is democracy dead?
Well, if it's not dead, it's certainly on its last gasp. It's floundering like a fish out of water. Yeah, I agree. And Starmer said, well, exact words to that effect. He said, if you don't like our policies, there's the door. And it looks like many people took that door and just simply left. But in terms of democracy, democratic values, I think we're so far from democratic values now that it's hardly worth calling what we have a democracy, even if it ever was. So yeah, pretty much.
Dulce decorum est pro patria mori. What's the translation for that, Alex? I'm going to put you on the spot. You might not know, I'll tell you.
Don't know, no.
Fit and proper it is to die for your country. Wilbur Owens, famous World War I war poet.
Okay.
And I grew up, Glenn, you grew up in a world where our grandfathers fought a world war against Nazis.
Yeah.
And we somehow believed in, and we, you know, someone would say, can I sit there? It's a free country. You would say. It was okay to offend people. In fact, debate was about offending people. Freedom of speech And here we are. Whether people want to recognize it or not, we have slid so far down George Orwell's 1984, so deep into the fucking looking glass. Now you can't say we don't have freedom of speech, we don't have freedom of protest, we don't have a fucking democracy. Alex, did you look up the numbers?
There are various reports, but some of them are saying as low as 45%.
Da bada bing. How did I know that? How did I know that? No, we don't live in a democracy anymore, and we're sliding towards full dictatorship. The next thing that people really need to wake up and realize is we're already in World War III. So we didn't wake up to a renewed war in Iran or Kiev being blown fucking to bits. Both of those are coming. But here's a couple of things people don't know. Glenn, I remember you talking about, was it Mali and the war there in the Sahel?
Yeah.
Well, did you know that Ukrainian special forces were amongst the jihadists that were attacking?
No.
And advising them? And, who was defending? Well, that's right. That would be the Afrika Korps, once known as the Wagner Group.
Yeah.
And otherwise, in fucking Sahel, Africa, you have the Russians fighting the Ukrainians. And who's the Ukrainians? The Ukrainians is the West. Now, Americanos, pick your fucking ears up. The giant fucking Oompa Loompa in the White House keeps telling you they're winning. Except there are not one, not two, but 3 American destroyers currently on fire, provably by open source satellite, just outside the Persian Gulf. Because every time the giant turd orders the US Navy to run the blockade of Hormuz, and the Iranians say, fuck you. They fired warning shots, weren't listened to, so they fired a couple of missiles. Now, the thing is this, they're deliberately not sinking these ships because they don't want to give the American people a Gulf of Tonkin. They're not going to give the Oompa Loompa the chance to say to Congress, oh, look, here's a question. A full month after 2 pilots were supposedly rescued, we still don't know their fucking names. They've never appeared on television anywhere. Why wasn't this heroic fucking colonel who had a broken leg but managed to fucking walk 5 miles up a mountain, hide himself in a cave until he was found? Why has he not been given a ticker tape parade through fucking New York? Because he doesn't fucking exist. Every time the Oompa Loompa thinks he's got a solution, it fails. The only reason they haven't begun massively bombing Iran again, well, a couple of reasons. One is the Gulf states, now get this, believe this or not, all the Gulf states apart from the UAE, Dubai, if you're in Dubai, I'll be messaging a very good friend of mine later today and telling him to get the fuck out. Exit Dubai now because the UAE is about to not exist. Iran's next move is to hit the desalination plants. When that happens, the UAE ceases to exist. But you know what they call the UAE in Iran? They call it the United Hebrew Emirates. That's why Israel sent Iron Dome. That's why the IDF is operating in the Emirates. But apart from that, all the other Gulf states, the so-called close allies, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, etc., have all denied the US use of their airspace. That's not going to stop anyone. The giant Oompa Loompa, in one of his more recent rants, said if Iran doesn't take the deal soon, oh, you're going to see a glow from Iran. Glenn, how do you interpret that statement? What's he talking about?
Well, you're going to see a glow from Iran. Well, there are currently reports that there is radioactive leakage. I can't remember exactly which target was struck, but what he's basically referring to is his wet dream of nuking Iran, which I believe that nightly he has to. I don't know how he's managing to get these tweets, because I'm convinced they strap him down with strong straps to stop him getting his hands on the nuclear codes. So he must be tweeting with his nose. But this is Trump's dream. Well, more like Netanyahu's dream, but Trump is obviously the blunt instrument which will be used. But yeah. So it's not the first time, he's kind of tried to do that. I think that's what that
means. Pardon me. I should have muted my mic. I do apologize. Alex, we are creeping towards nuclear war. Are we not?
Yeah. I don't think that can be interpreted in any other way than sort of a nuclear glow. They want it. They want it. And that in itself is pure insanity.
Well, insanity, I suppose it depends how you interpret it. If your master plan is to depopulate, then actually it kind of makes sense. Now, the only reason it's not already happened is partly because the metrics keep changing. As I say, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, they've all now looked at America, Pax Americana, and said, you can't defend us from shit, brother. But here's the Chinese, here's the Russians, their weapons work, they ain't trying to impose anything on us, they just want to trade. So we're going to go with them, thank you very much. The Chinese are dumping American treasuries like there's no fucking tomorrow, and that means you Americanos, your economy is fucking in the crapper. You're wallowing in 40 fucking trillion in debt, for fuck's sake. How are you going to pay that? You can't. They need to reset. You got me? Now, I'm going to come to Putin in a second. But both Putin and Xi Jinping have told the giant Oompa Loompa, you do anything else in Iran, well, we're all in, brother. So just don't. And yet Netanyahu will. Because Netanyahu continues to try and genocide Lebanon and continues. They don't like it at them, Captain. They really don't.
No.
They just don't like it at them, do they? Trump is going to attempt this week to go to China. Well, Xi Jinping, because the Chinese are polite, will accept them, but he's going to tell the giant Oompa Loompa again. Rare earths, go fuck yourself. You try anything in Iran, we're going to fuck you. The only reason your ancient warships are not at the bottom of the ocean is because we're holding Iran back. Oh, and yes, of course, France has the mighty Charles de Gaulle and its carrier fleet. So fucking 90s. I mean, literally, I'm a boy of the 80s. Aircraft carriers are so fucking 90s. They're obsolete. But it's okay, Glenn, because Britain's sending 5 of our great fucking warships.
Yeah, it's 5 now, is it?
The Parahandy and 4 fucking rowboats, I think, but they're sending 5 ships to the Gulf.
Yeah. Good luck with running the blockade.
Or is it lunacy? Is it me or is it lunacy?
Well, at this point, I think Trump's tried, like he's been doing for a while, trying to get others to shoulder more of the shit. And so sailing French and British warships, I don't know, up the Strait of Hormuz is a guaranteed way to get Britain involved in this war, because those ships are going to last all of 5 minutes before they're crippled in some way or another and have to turn back. And of course, that will be a kind of British Gulf of Tonkin, where Starmer will turn around and say, well, look, we really didn't want to get involved in this war, but look what the Iranians have done. Look what the Iranians have forced us into. You made us do it. And I think that's perhaps where we're going with this. So,
history is a wonderful thing when you remember it. 1951. The declining British Empire decided to make one last show of strength to say that Britannia still rules the waves, and sent a destroyer up the Yellow River of China, only for that ship to be blockaded, bombarded, damn near fucking sunk. And when it got out, it had to limp back to London. Yeah. Take a look around you at the world you've known so well and bid the aging empire of the United States farewell. Because the world is no longer afraid of the US. Now we turn to Russia. And, excuse me again. Even the Coke King of Kiev had enough senses. And let's face it, see when I say that, right? Zelensky is just a fucking tool. And he's a tool of the British. And let's just not beat about the bush with that anymore. He's an MI5 fucking asset. He only does what MI5 says, which means the MI-5 were just intelligent enough to understand that when Russia said, if you try and attack our victory celebrations, then we are going to turn downtown Kiev into a fucking glowing crater. But Putin's speech, we were told, Peskov said, Putin's speech is going to be very important. So what did Putin say? What he said was, pretty much, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, we fought a world war against the Nazis. The Nazis are back and they're at our front door. Ukraine has been backed by all of NATO. NATO are Nazis. And we ain't going to allow another Barbarossa. And despite the fact that all of NATO is against us, our valiant soldiers on the front lines are moving forward apace. And this war will end this year. Alex, Russia is taking off the gloves. Albeit Kiev's not a burning fucking crater, but when I tell you that within 1 month, the center of Kiev, Octopus Street, will be gone. The embassies will be fucking gone. And I also believe that somewhere in Angoland is going to be struck by an Orezhnik. Would you bet against me?
No, I don't think I'd ever bet against you anyway, but it's if they're saying it's ending this year, they're going to have to do something dramatic because they know by now that the West will not give up. They will cling on to the very last, well, as they've said before, to the last Ukrainian. And considering they keep dragging children and pensioners off the street, that could still take slightly longer than this year. So if he's saying this year, then the gloves are off. If he's saying this year, that means they're going to take Odessa. That means they're probably going to take Kiev. And I wouldn't be surprised we've painted a big enough target on our backs for them to hit the UK.
Well, Keir Starmer, after the disastrous elections, I'm going nowhere. I'm going to listen to the British people. I'm going to learn the lessons. And what did he do yesterday? He appointed Harriet Harman. Who's Harriet Harman? Look at that, people. She's a dinosaur from the Blair era. Yeah. Pedophile protector, Harriet Harman, as the special envoy for children. I couldn't make this shit up if I tried. And Gordon Brown, one-eyed pedophile, Gordon Brown, who sold and gave away, really, the British gold reserves for peanuts, bailed out the banks, was one of the most disastrous prime ministers this country's ever had, and was an even worse Chancellor of the Exchequer. Oh, he appointed him as the special fucking envoy for finance. Glenn, literally, I'm living in a surreal fucking world.
Just say that again, Ian. Jackie's coughing in the background. I couldn't quite hear you. Just repeat that, please.
No, I'm saying, given that Keir Starmer is appointing Harriet Harman to Gordon Brown to places.
Yeah.
I mean, are we living in some Mandela effect surreal fucking world now?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's pure desperation that he's got absolutely no one to pick from of any merit. So he's reinforcing failure by bringing in some old failures. In truth, I believe Keir Starmer should listen to our military. Keir Starmer should keep an eye on all the thousands upon thousands of soldiers and sailors and airmen who are buying themselves out of the forces and saying, we are not going to die for Starmer. We are not going to be thrown away in some fucking useless Ukrainian war, Ukrainian attempt to take over Russia, which is doomed to failure. Once all the Ukrainians have gone, how's the plan going to move forward? Oh, we'll have to send some of our boys there, won't we? Yeah, right. You should listen to them. Really give up now. So, but God knows who will replace him.
Did you ever once think about buying yourself out, Glenn?
No, never. No, never. In fact, I signed on twice, so I was quite happy in the military. I like a lot of things. It was the best of times and the worst of times. It was like a tale of two cities. It's sugar and shit. But it never crossed my mind. The only thing I didn't do was when I came back from the Gulf, I decided I wasn't going to sign on again. I'd had enough. I just seen too much and thought, no, I'm not prepared to carry on like this. So I never took the offer to sign on again and came out. So, but that's the extent of it.
I mean, I was lucky enough that, and that's the crazy thing. Just so let's just explain it for people. The crazy thing is, in the British military, if you're what they call an enlisted man, then you sign on for a specified period. If you want to get out before the specified period ended, you have to pay the government money to do so. Officers are called commissioned officers because, in theory, they're commissioned by the Crown. And officers can resign. But doesn't seem fair to me, but there you go. Yeah, there was so many that in our day, Glenn, I looked at so many and thought, you're just a civilian fucking uniform. You have no idea of dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. You really don't, you motherfucker. And if war comes, you'd run a mile. Well, like I named my show the other week, it's a great big fucking war. And we're all motherfucking in it. But there's a reason for the season, Alex. And with that, it's time to transition to the Lone Gunman. So, play the song. Stay with us, people. Listen to the song.
We stood in the saddle. He comes riding through your town. He's wearing yesterday's misfortunes like a smile. Once he had a future full of money, love, and dreams, but he spent like it was going out of style. But he just keeps on believing that for better or for worse, he's searching for a shrine he's never found. Never knowing if believing is a blessing or a curse, or if going up is worth coming down. He's a poet and a picker, he's a prophet and a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. He has tasted good and evil in the bedrooms and the bars. He's traded in tomorrows for today. He's running from his demons and he's reaching for the stars, leaving everything he's loved along the way. And the world just keeps on turning, so for better or for worse, all he ever gets is older and around. From the rocking of his cradle to the rolling of the hearse, going up's not worth coming down. But he's a poet and a picker, he's a prophet and a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth, he's partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home.
Welcome, pilgrims. We know, as I try and get my hat in my head, that you are truly exhausted, at least I am, from traversing a world that's gone totally fucking insane. The internet is a morass of misinformation, disinformation, shysters, shoosters, AI, fake spots, and grifters. Buy me a coffee, be my Patreon, send me your fucking hard-earned cash so I can live high on the hog. Galloway, I'm worth £1, aren't I? So I can go globetrotting and pretend I'm in exile. But somehow, some way, you found your way here, by accident or design. So, pour yourself a drink, sit by my campfire. I'd say make it not just a double, make it a fucking, oh, let's face it, just don't bother with a fucking chaser. Just go for it today. Roll yourself something warm and brown and fucking golden. Don't even bother with tobacco, just make it pure fucking green, brother. Because the day the lone gunman's going to ride again and you're going to get hit with some very hard fucking truth. I'm going to put my hat back on. Do you like my hat? It's about as old and as battered as I am. It's a real leather Stetson, thanks to me from Texas. I'm going to give away You know how I like to do this every now and then. I'm going to give away the the finale before you guys get into it. And then I'll tie all up with a big old red fucking bow. And Alex, you don't have enough red string for all the connections that we're going to make today. But I was a big fan back in the day of a show called The X-Files, predictive programming at its finest. And a bit like Supernatural, in Supernatural, Sam and Dean, they go off and they maybe investigate a vampire or changeling or skin fucking walker, whatever. But there was an underlying story of the apocalypse. X-Files exactly the same. Mulder and Scully ran off investigating various things, but the underlying story was that there was a shadow government, an elite who met in smoke-filled rooms. And this elite were in contact with aliens. Aliens who were coming back to claim the planet. Aliens who wanted the rodents who inhabited the planet to be gone. And the elite were negotiating with them so that when the event happened, they and their families would be saved. It's okay. It was just a TV show, wasn't it, Alex? Wasn't it, Glenn? Glenn, it was just a TV show, wasn't it?
Well, the guy, I can't remember what his name is, Chris somebody, the guy who was the originator, at least of the first series. I'm sure he was in the intelligence community, and he based a lot of it on what he'd learned in that. Yeah, like many of these shows, you can kind of watch what they were saying 20 years ago. I can't remember when X-Files went off air, but you can use it as a kind of a weather vane, and then say, hang on, I remember this somewhere. Wasn't this in some show? And then you can look it up, and there it is. Boom! Exactly what's happening now is in that show. So yeah, whether by design or coincidence, and I don't believe in coincidence. So,
yes, no, Chris Franks was an FBI insider, and he was a modern day Alessandro. Remember that guy, Gaia Project, all of this shit, Stephen Greer, all of this shit?
Yeah.
Yes, it's all by design. So, some people might have noticed that there's a little push on at the moment to reboot Pandemic 2.0. And a little bitty cruise ship. Now, I've been on a cruise. I didn't like it, but I've been on a cruise. At least the ship that I was on looked as if it was slightly fucking luxurious. But this ship, to me, looks fucking worse than the Hebridean ferry. But anyway, that set aside, somehow this little bitty fucking expedition cruise ship is managing to scare the whole fucking world, Alex, is it not? Why don't you go on and tell people what I have you looking at today?
Okay. Well, there's a reason I'll get to that as to why it doesn't look like what you'd picture a cruise ship, and it's to do with the cruises that it offers. But I'll get to that in a bit. But I'm looking at the hantavirus outbreak, and if you haven't heard of that yet, you probably soon will. But I'm going to start with the official story, start with what we're being told. So first off, the ship. Now, the first we heard was of a cluster of deaths and infections on a cruise ship. Now, this is the MV Hondias, and it left Argentina on the 1st of April. Now, like I said, it's not a standard cruise ship that you'd think of Mediterranean or this sort of thing going around Egypt or what you'd picture as a cruise ship, because it's actually a Polar Class 6 vessel. And the cruise in question was a 35-day Atlantic Odyssey, and it was heading for Antarctica, as well as several isolated South Antarctic Ocean islands. Now, it departed from Ushuaia in the far south of Argentina on the 1st of April. And by the 6th of April, a 70-year-old Dutch man became sick, reporting symptoms of fever, headache, and mild diarrhea. By the 11th, the man, who's since been identified as Leo Schilperoids, had developed respiratory distress and died on board. Now, the cause of death at that time hadn't been determined. Now, on the 15th of April, 6 people joined the cruise at Tristan da Cunha, and the body, however, at this stage stayed on board. I just lost my place in my notes. Give me 2 seconds. On the 24th of April, moving on, the man's body was disembarked at the island of St. Helena, and his wife and more than 24 other passengers left the cruise. Now, at this point, the stop was actually planned as an end for many of them, so they didn't leave because of these occurrences. But the point is, they departed the cruise. The man's wife, Mirjam, and potentially some of those other passengers took a flight to Johannesburg on the 25th before boarding connecting flights to their homes. Now, Mirjam was removed from a flight to the Netherlands from Johannesburg as she was now too sick to travel, and she actually ends up collapsing at the airport and dies on the 26th of April in Johannesburg, in a hospital in Johannesburg. Meanwhile, back on the ship, a 69-year-old British passenger this time becomes sick and is evacuated to a South African hospital after the ship docks at Ascension Island on the 27th. A 4th passenger, a German woman, becomes sick on the 28th, and she dies on the 2nd of May. Now, on that same day, the South African health authorities announced a positive hantavirus test from the British man who was by then in intensive care in Johannesburg. Now, on the 3rd of May, the WHO suddenly starts talking about a hantavirus outbreak on the cruise ship, which by now's reached Verde waters. Whilst on the 4th, the South African health officials receive a posthumous positive test for the Dutch woman. On the 5th of May, there's something of a standoff between the Cape Verde authorities, who at this stage, after the diagnosis, refused to let the ship dock. Though on the 6th, 3 seriously ill people, including 2 crew members, one of whom was the ship's doctor, are actually evacuated from the ship and flown to specialised hospitals in Europe. The ship at this stage sets sail for the Canary Islands, who have agreed to let it dock, or who had agreed to let it dock. And in the meantime, authorities in Switzerland had found a positive test on one of the passengers who left the cruise earlier when his wife and the other passengers departed. Now, the virus is confirmed to be the Andes virus, which is the only hantavirus believed to spread by human transmission, human to human. Now, by the 7th of May, we therefore have health authorities in Switzerland, the UK, the Netherlands, France, Singapore, and South Africa, among others, who are isolating people who left the cruise ship and tracing people who might have come in contact with those passengers while they were flying and returning to their own homelands. Now, finally, today on the 10th, the Hondias pulled into the port of Granadilla in Tenerife, where the passengers are being ferried to shore. And they're being ferried to shore in groups divided by nationality, socially distanced, then taken by bus to the local airport and repatriated by charter plane to their own countries. So what is the hantavirus? Well, it's actually a group of viruses, and the WHO define them as carried by rodents, but able to cause severe disease in humans. Now, infection is usually by contact with an affected rodent or by contact with their urine, feces, or saliva. Depending on the strain encountered, they can cause a range of symptoms. The main 2 versions being HCPS, or hantavirus cardiopulmonary syndrome, which causes a severe respiratory illness with a fatality rate of up to 50%. And HFRS, hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, is the other one, which has a lower fatality rate. Now, the Andes virus, which has been identified in this case, comes under the HCPS group, and it is currently the only known hantavirus for which human-to-human transition has been previously documented. So basically, hantaviruses are what they call zoonotic viruses. They naturally infect an animal, in this case rodents, and are only occasionally transmitted to humans. When that transmission causes HCPS, as in this case, it causes a rapidly progressive condition affecting the lungs and the heart. Hantavirus infection symptoms usually appear 2 to 4 weeks after exposure, although they can develop anywhere from a few days to 8 weeks later. And there is no current treatment that cures hantavirus. The only treatment currently is for the respiratory, cardiac, and in the case of the other version, the kidney complications. So it's also nice and clear. Or is it? Because there does seem to be 1 or 2 gaps in the story. Things that don't quite make sense. Now, first off, the incubation period. Because the average is considered to be 18 days. The first case was 5 days after the ship set out. Now, it's been suggested that on the 27th of March, the Dutch couple, Leo and Merjam, went bird watching, and it's been defined as a rodent-infested Argentine landfill site. I don't know if this is the birds they were watching. I just searched Argentina and bird watching. But the early symptoms can develop within a week, but the average is 18 days. So even from the 27th of March, this was a quick occurrence of symptoms. And it still raises questions. Now, initial reports came back of the stewardess on the flight that she tried to board being infected, which would have been less than a day. Now, that has since been debunked, as it's been announced that she tested negative, because that would have been beyond the realms of probability for the incubation period. But then there's the question of the source of the outbreak. See, a cruise ship is a confined space. So yes, your people are in close proximity to each other. But by its nature, it also puts and takes and picks up those people at the same locations. Now, with a virus that rarely spreads, human to human, and an incubation period of 1 to 8 weeks, how can they be so sure at this stage that this is human transmission and not that they were all picked up from the same place, ergo all in contact with possibly with the same rat urine, rat droppings, or contaminated area? But they're very quick to have concluded this is actually human to human. But giving them benefit on the doubt that everything we've been told is true and makes sense, should we be worried? Will this be another COVID? And this is where we come to a few odd coincidences. First off, the cruise ship. You see, in February 2020, we all heard about the COVID outbreak on the Diamond Princess during a cruise of the Western Pacific in that case. Now, that ship also had several stop-offs with people leaving and joining the cruise before the diagnosis was made. The Diamond Princess was reported to still be holding shows, dance parties, and keeping open fitness clubs, theatres, casinos, bars, and buffet-style restaurants. And the Honduras has been reported to have held a large barbecue after the first cases were known. I'm starting seeing a few of these odd coincidences, a few of these similarities. The quarantines. Now, perhaps quarantines a good idea, and perhaps it's a logical response, we could argue. But we're seeing the exact same procedures put into place as with COVID. The evacuation took place with the passengers socially distanced. All on the ship are going to be required to self-isolate, whether they test positive or not, for up to 45 days. The contact tracing is also kicking in again already. And again, it could be argued this makes sense. They want to find anyone who come in contact with the affected individuals, especially because we are looking at a fatality rate of 50%. But still, a lot of money was spent on those track and trace apps even. And the one thing they rarely waste is their money. They're quick to waste ours, but they rarely waste their own. And then we have the vaccine. Now, I told you there's no current cure or treatment. Well, that's not entirely true. It may not be fully produced at the moment, but this story is from 2024, and it discusses an agreement between Moderna and the South Korean University to collaborate in developing an mRNA-based hantavirus. Now, they began exploring a collaboration in 2021, and research and development agreement was finally signed in September 2023. The only slight problem with the coincidence is that they've been focusing the vaccine on targeting the HFRS virus rather than the HCPS version that's been diagnosed on the cruise ship. And then there's the hospital. In February 2020, 32 British passengers evacuated from the Diamond Princess were flown back to the UK and quarantined at the Arrow Park Hospital in the Wirral. UK passengers on board the MV Hondias will be flown to, you guessed it, Arrow Park Hospital. There's also something of a familiarity in the stories of how there's nothing to worry about. The UK Health and Security Agency have announced that the risk to the general public, remains very low. And whilst I'm not suggesting that in itself isn't true, I can't help remember the downgrade of COVID that took place before all the nonsense started. Now, finally, there are the real questions. Has it been gain of functions? Have they been fucking around with it? Well, the problem is the one thing they seem to have made a lot harder nowadays is to find evidence of gain of function research. They seem less inclined to admit it. But there are labs researching hantavirus in California, Louisville, Canada, Senegal, South Africa, Sao Paulo, Sweden, and Australia. Whilst the fields of study for these research are focused heavily on the Andes virus. Now, you may say there's a logic for it to be focused on the virus that is transmittable human to human, but we still need to bear in mind that there are something like hundreds of cases of this every year, where there are 10 to 100,000 of the other version every year. Have they weaponized this? Do they plan on it being the next pandemic? Those questions at this stage are in many ways still to be answered. There are 8 cases they've, so say, confirmed from the ship. There are normally, as I say, only hundreds of cases a year. How this grows from here, how they develop this story, this narrative from here, will tell us whether this is going to be the next pandemic or if this is just going to blow over like the meningitis and any of the others. Time will tell where they're going with it, whether they are going to take it somewhere. But the similarities, the coincidences are a little concerning. And I'll never forget the fact they told us we won't be able to ignore the next one. And a 50% fatality rate could be kind of hard to ignore.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, kind of sobering. Now, coincidences. You will find, if you look online, a video of the captain of this cruise ship after the first fatality gathering the crew and passengers together and telling them that the first fatality was a natural death. Nothing to worry about. And whilst you would say for humanitarian purposes, they were taking people off the ship to various countries. Well, plague ships have been around for centuries. And there's even a special flag that ships carry. All ships required by maritime law have to carry it. That they have to raise if there's disease on board. And no port in the world is allowed to accept a plague ship. Humanitarian aid can be sent to the plague ship, but it's never allowed to dock. The incubation period can be up to 8 weeks, 2 months. Self-isolate, they told you in COVID, for 14 days. How about self-isolating for 2 months? How about you want to spread a disease? Well, you put it on a ship. You infect. And how come hundreds of passengers on this ship? How come there was only one? One who was reporting daily as to what was happening? I don't know. Was he there to do exactly that? But you then start taking this petro dish of people and you disembark them, you let them get on airplanes filled with hundreds of people to fly thousands of miles, infecting everybody on that airplane, who then 2 months go about infecting everybody they come across. Oh yeah, Billy Gates. More of a fucking foreseer and prophet than even I am. Told you there was another pandemic coming, and this one you wouldn't ignore, because as I told you before, they can dial up the kill rate. Anytime they want. A mortality rate of 40 to 50% with this fucker. But here's a couple other little quirky fucking dinkies. If you look at the side effects of the COVID kill shot, one of them, you ready for this? One of the side effects of the COVID kill shot is fucking hantavirus. And I'm not making this shit up. And, as you said, Alex, just by fucking accident, lucky design, you could say, they'd already developed another mRNA, so-called vaccine, because it's not a vaccine, it's another kill shot for hantavirus before any of this shit happened. So all you people, you true bloods, that thought that you resisted, that thought you didn't comply, you didn't take the kill shot. Oh well, let's see when people are dropping dead in the fucking street, whether you won't be willing to roll up your sleeve and go to the vaccine centre and take the DNA changing kill shot that they're going to offer. Glenn, any thoughts at this point?
Yeah, well, just because I knew that that's what Alex was looking at for this part of the show, I thought I'd kind of have a look around the edges of this thing. And there's quite a few people at the minute saying, let's look at the word hunter. And I don't know if you've come across this. Let's look at the word hunter. Now, in modern Hebrew, which is a made-up language, hunter means scam or fraud. And because modern Hebrew is a kind of made out of lots of sort of bits and bobs of other languages, part of that is Hungarian. And in Hungarian, hunter means nonsense, rubbish, or lies. So maybe that's just coincidental. Maybe it's not. What else did I find out? Hantavirus first occurred in South Korea. That's where it came from.
Before you go there, since you went there, right? Okay. One of the things I've been trying to teach people is that we aren't in the apocalypse, but someone, a hidden hand, is trying to make it very like the apocalypse.
Yeah.
And there are only 2 ancient languages that have ever been revived. One is Latin.
Yeah.
Because Latin, believe it or not, is the official language of the European Union. Latin, obviously, was a language of the Roman Empire. It was a lingua franca of the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire, funnily enough, is, as we said last week, very connected to the apocalypse. Now, the second revived language, as you just said, is Hebrew. I can translate both ancient Greek and ancient Hebrew. The difference between the two is that whilst learning ancient Greek has a much higher initial curve, once you get there, it's straightforward. Once you've learned the basics, ancient Greek's easy. Hebrew, however, it's kind of easier to get into, but you never stop learning. And that's why, let me see, modern Israel is not actually Semitic. They aren't actually the Jews from the New Testament. They're actually the African fucking Aryans from Eastern Europe who reinvented what they're calling Hebrew, but not ancient Hebrew.
No.
It has no connection, and any Hebrewic scholar can tell you that. So you're right, Glenn. And the fact that they like to throw in your face nonsense. Nonsense. That's what this virus. It's a nonsense virus. Go on, brother.
Yeah, there's just a few little facts I thought might come up. There was another weird one that I came across. It was a Twitter user back in 2022 Now, this Twitter user, when it was still Twitter and not X, it went by the name, all one word, I am a soothsayer. And this person only ever put 4 posts on and then never put any more on again. And one of the posts was a prediction that there would be a hantavirus outbreak in 2026. So either someone had inside knowledge or by the wildest of flukes happened to put their finger on the exact year when hantavirus would break out. And the only other thing I found out was it was originally first discovered during the Korean War, when I think it was 3,000 American servicemen came down with a version of it. So they're the only facts that I kind of looked at, because I knew Alex would cover most of the stuff. So I thought I could throw them in there as a conversation piece.
Well, yes, well, oil infrastructure is still burning across the world, including Louisiana. And by the way, just in case you didn't know that one, because one way or t'other, they want you not being able to move. They want their 15-minute city. But here's something, Alex. Do your magic. You're my Garcia. Who's Garcia? Criminal Minds. She's the text expert in Criminal Minds. Do your magic. Find an image of the Masonic compass and thingy, and then pull up the logo for Elon Musk's Twitter. And let's do a compare and contrast, shall we? People, talk amongst yourself in the meantime.
Amongst yourselves.
Because this will, I don't know. I just see these things. I'm like the kid in that movie. I see dead people. So, the Masons. Who are the Masons? Well, yes, mystery cult. It goes back centuries. Has been in many forms, from the ancient Egyptian mystery cults through the Roman mystery cults, through the worship of Baal. Oh, there we go. There we go. And that's the square and the compass. Now, I don't know if you'll see my no, you can't see my little pointer, but I want you to look at the left-hand side of this image. I want you to see. Oh, they don't like it, people. They don't like it. But I want you to see where the compass comes down and intersects the set square. Can you see it, Glenn?
Yeah.
The compass comes down and it intersects
crosses
the set square. Alex, show us Elon Musk Twitter. Oh, sorry, we're meant to call it X, aren't we? Oh. Does that look at all familiar? Does that look at all like it's that image of the compass intersecting the set square, Glenn?
Yeah, where you've got the leg of the compass bisecting the part of the square. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see what you're getting at there. Yeah.
Alex, can you see it?
I can, yep. I think I might have found a somewhere to
A
illustrate
better
it.
version of that, yes. We're going through it. There you
Yeah.
go.
So if you take that, yeah.
Well, how did I know that is shit?
So it's half a picture.
Okay, Glenn. Man in black, it's time to unleash you. What is? And the thing was, here's the thing. When I set this week's homework, both of you kind of head scratched and said, what the fuck? What? The subjects are so diverse. What the actual fuck is he doing this week?
Yeah.
Well, it's all about become clear.
All right.
Glenn, tell people this week.
Now, because of Ian's little piece, and I'll be honest with you, and Ian makes this point every single week. Ian is not privy to what I've done. Ian is not privy to what Alex has done. We do it completely independently, and sometimes kind of in isolation. We're not quite sure how Ian's going to tie all this together. Well, Ian's already kind of let the cat out of the bag out of some of the stuff I'm going to tell you, but I'll tell you it again nevertheless. So I'm going to kind of start quite blandly, all right, just ordinarily. So this week, kind of as I mentioned on my show on Friday, the Pentagon has begun to release what it supposedly holds in terms of documents and information, including photographs and perhaps video relating to UFOs. Now, Trump started sort of stoking interest in this back in February. Coincidentally, the same month the US unleashed its unprovoked and illegal war on Iran. Now, since that time, he's continued to kind of build suspense about what he described, and I'll use his own words, as very interesting files that have never been shown before. Not quite like nobody's ever seen before, but near to what he likes to say. We're going to be releasing a lot of things that we haven't, he said. So slide 1, please, Alex. And he said this at an event celebrating the Artemis astronauts in the Oval Office, basically. And that's what they're doing there. Now, he said, I think it's going to be very interesting for people. So this week's releases are sort of what's going to become weekly drops of files that the Pentagon has. And they're, as a result of a directive issued back in February calling for transparency around alien and extraterrestrial life and unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAPs, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Now, according to a recent Pentagon statement, the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which was created in 2022, is now working with the White House and the Pentagon to declassify and release this never before seen information. Okay. But however, the former director of that office, a guy called Sean Kirkpatrick, who we can see here at slide 2. Now, he led the office until 2023, and he has said, "I have seen the government records, and there are no bombshell revelations to be found in them." Now, Kirkpatrick was he is a physicist, and he's been a career intelligence officer for a long time as well. And he also said people should not get their hopes up that there are photos or videos of aliens or alien interviews or autopsies or interrogations of aliens or anything like that. All the ones you may have seen, he said, are fake. And that kind of material does not exist, he said. But this is kind of where there appears to be a rift, because the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets, yet another body, something that was again set up by this administration, has, it seems, been conducting its own investigations into reports of mysterious craft that have been seen near US military installations. And we can see one of those sort of craft here at slide 3. This is the so-called jellyfish craft that was captured near a US military base. Now, these phenomena are something that they say pose a threat to national security. And last autumn, this very body held a hearing called a nice, simple, easy sort of name, Restoring Public Trust Through UAP Transparency and Whistleblower Protection. So it's a nice, easy, just rolls off the tongue. And this, having heard testimony from current and former service members, as well as UFO investigators, then contacted the White House, and Anna Paula Luna, who is the co-chair of the task force, wrote a letter to the Secretary of Defense, I refuse to call him the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, demanding dozens of UAP videos that whistleblowers say exist of UAP phenomenon. Slide 4, are we on to? No, sorry, leave that one out. That's not slide 4. There was going to be another slide there, but in my panic, I didn't send it you, Alex. All right. So Anna Paula Luna sent this letter, sent this request for these videos, and her request was ignored and no videos were produced. But Luna has lived up to the sort of task force's code of full disclosure. And last year she appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast and said she had personally seen evidence of interdimensional beings. She said the Pentagon can't hide from our documents request anymore. But she also praised Trump for sort of spearheading the push for revelation. Now, reports as recent as Thursday seem to indicate some form of disclosure was imminent. And we obviously now, that first tranche of disclosure has come out. Also, a group of leading evangelist pastors, a man called Bishop Alan Dido, who we can see here at slide 4. Well, he revealed that he, along with 5 other leading pastors, had been briefed by the US intelligence services to prepare their flocks for UFO disclosure. And within that group, concerns were stoked by another evangelist pastor, a man called Perry Stone, that the expected revelations will shatter Christian belief and prove Genesis is a fairy tale. And that evidence of extraterrestrial life will show the whole creation story is a myth and drive people away from the church. We are not dealing with aliens, he said. These are not extraterrestrials. These are demons. And this view is also shared by J.D. Vance, in case you've forgotten
Before
Here
you
it is.
go on, Glenn.
Sorry, mate.
Just before you go on,
Yeah.
I have to confess that every time you say Anna Paulina Luma, my head
Una Paloma Blanca.
goes to an old Slim Whitman song.
Una
Anna Paulina
Paloma
Blanca. Sorry,
Yeah,
go
I
on.
knew that's what
Brilliant.
you were going to say.
Brilliant, but go on.
A little white bird. Right, okay. So this is J.D. Vance, in case you've forgotten what he looks like. There he is. Yeah. And he said back in March,
Nothing like
I
a
don't,
younger version of me.
nothing whatsoever. He said back in March, I don't think they're aliens either. I think they're demons. And these views that these extraterrestrials are basically demons are kind of widely spread, widely held in these sort of Pentecostal and charismatic churches. Now, meanwhile, another one of our favorites, the FBI director, Kash Patel, he revealed on Tuesday that the first batch of documents have been delivered to the task force. And according to Patel, who was speaking again, these people like to go on these podcasts. He was speaking on the Hangout with Sean Hannity on that podcast, that the files would be released to the public shortly. And now we have now we know that that was a reality. So that's the kind of current lie of the land, as it were, in terms of disclosure. Now, kind of looking down on it, as Ian likes to say, looking down on it from a high level, it's clear that there are kind of two main factions that appear to want full disclosure, or perhaps not quite, because they appear to be one faction that seems to want full disclosure, and the other one wants to maintain denial. But even so, it's not quite as simple as that, because it never is. Because within these two sort of broad categories, there are subdivisions and different agendas. And there are those that want full hermetic sealing of this information, total secrecy, and no admission whatsoever of an alien presence on the planet. And some fear that it would bring down society, like the idea that it will shatter religion and maybe even cause wars, as if they're not causing enough wars already. Now, this school of thought was very prevalent in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, where these things were being kept secret for what the government considered the benefit of the public, so it would not fracture society. But there are also those that appear to be profiting greatly from this phenomenon in the form of perhaps what might be called recovered or back-engineered technology. Now, for them, if aliens were kind of just to openly land tomorrow and offer to freely share their technology, then their game would be up. For these kind of profiteers that are milking national security and defense projects. Slide 6, please, Alex. For them, allowing people to believe in UFOs is an absolutely great cover story for their projects. So these are sort of some of them. There are those that believe that we should openly admit everything we know and invite these aliens or whatever to the table, and in doing so perhaps take our place in the galactic or multi-dimensional sort of council. We become a galactic species, as it were. So slide 7, please, Alex. But there are, so that's a kind of illustration of this galactic council. There are those that also, and possibly rightly, believe that we're not ready to take that step, and we're still too primitive a species to be allowed a seat at this table, or on this council, you might say. And these are only a few of the sort of many subdivisions within this whole disclosure area. Now, knowing the nature of governments, knowing that nature is to lie, could it be the case that this apparent move to disclosure is also an elaborate lie, an elaborate deception designed to mask other agendas or distract from them? It could be any of these. It could be all of them. It could be none of them. It could be some of these possibilities. But here's another what you might call disturbing possibility, and one that may pull together some of these other strings. We might, in fact, be involved in something that most people are totally oblivious of. Now, many people who have studied the UFO phenomenon agree that there are multiple species or multiple races of beings that are visiting our planet or even residing here. Not all of these species, according to these people, are friendly. They're not friendly towards us or other species, the other species that might also live here. Could it be, for instance, that there is and has been an ongoing cooperation between certain elements of what you might call the shadow government? And this is where me and Ian have started to align, or secret rulers of the world. Now, I didn't expect Ian to lead with that up front, because I'm not going to delve too deeply into this. What I'm going to do is load the gun for the gunman who's already shot that bolt, who's already shot that bullet. But if you've ever watched, and here we go again, slide
No,
8.
Glenn, I've got a magic bullet, just like the lone gunman in the Kennedy assassination.
I thought I'd give you the.
You might think I've shot, but not yet.
All right. Okay. Well, okay. So let's look at slide 8, and this again is where we align. If you've ever watched the X-Files, you'll know what I'm talking about. Or if you've ever listened to our programs, perhaps on the real history of this world, the real history of mankind, you might have a clue. Or perhaps if you've ever listened to Ronald Reagan on this subject, that might be another. And it might be the case that disclosing evidence of UFOs is a way of kind of addressing the elephant that has been in the room for decades, something our government really can no longer keep suppressed. It may be Trump wants to be seen as the president who finally revealed the truth of extraterrestrials on our planet. That would suit his ego, massively. But somehow, and all right, call me cynical, this might be a way of silencing voices calling for deeper disclosure and perhaps taking the wind from the sails of those seeking to show that there is a bigger and more secret agenda. Now, recently we saw the apparent suicide of David Wilcock. And here's David Wilcock. At slide 9, I think it is, yeah. Whose investigations and revelations were pointing towards this. The start of this apparent disclosure, much like the JFK disclosure, may turn out to be just a tactic to throw people a false bone, as it were. The conclusion, I kind of fear, will be yes, that's exactly what it is. And the conclusion will be, yes, there are alien craft in our skies or in our oceans, but we have no real idea what they are, and we never have. We are your government, and we are here to help. And that is what we are doing. We have shown you what we have, so there's no need to dig anymore, is there now? Now, in closing this kind of piece, if you want to see what has been released, and that release that happened this week, and I mentioned it on Friday, but I will do again, then go to www.war.gov/UFO. Which is where the US government's disclosure site is. So that was a kind of overview of the disclosure project, you might say. Okay.
Oh, Glenn, you did the man in black side once again, as I knew you would. Here's where I'm about to pickle some minds. Hat on time.
You remind me of Dr. Hook if you had a patch.
I love Dr. Hook. I love Dr. Hook. I am Dr. Hook. When I was 12, I used to go to school on the bus singing to my classmates Dr. Hook songs. Just to say, oh my God. Oh, how many ways can I pickle a brain? So, let's start with this. We have, as I've said, factions. And, as I've also said, there is this attempt to make us believe that we're living in the apocalypse. Capiche? So, we know the von Braun deathbed confession of what one faction was planning, and that included Project Bluebeam. Stephen Greer is very upset with J.D. Vance because Stephen Greer is that von Braun faction. You got me? And they were just trying to gear it up for Bluebeam. But now we've got J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel. Oh, by the way, Americanos, we started the show today with me asking Glenn and Alex whether we live in a democracy. Do you think you live in a republic? People are screaming for the removal of the giant Oompa Loompa, just like they're screaming in this country for the removal of Keir Starmer. But if they did do the 25th Amendment, that requires the US Cabinet and the Vice President, along with a majority of Congress, to say the President's no longer fit. Well, let's say they do that. And let's say they put J.D. Vance in. Do you remember movies such as Alien, where there are no longer governments on the planet, they're all corporations? Or shall we call it technocracies? Can we remember the technocrat of America? Oh, that's where Musk comes in and his granddaddy. So if they do remove Trump and put in J.D. Vance, he'll be chairman of the fucking board. You got me? You're moving full on fascism. Remember, Mussolini, what is fascism? It is corporation and the state coming together. That's Nazis. That's the Fourth fucking Reich, people. If you can't get your fucking noodles around it. And what's that faction saying about disclosure? Well, before I get to that, Tricky Dicky Nixon, who came in after JFK via his vice president. And remember when we did those shows? Oh, yeah. Alex, do you remember how I told you that JFK's speech that was planning to give that day with the guy who had been with Admiral Byrd in Antarctica was going to be disclosure? Tricky Dicky Nixon. He wanted to be the disclosure president. In fact, you'll find that Tricky Dicky Nixon has a time capsule due to be unearthed this year. Now, Tricky Dicky Nixon was a very close friend of the current US president, the giant Oompa Loompa, Donald J. fucking Trump. And you will find in the Nixon presidential library over 100 letters between Trump and Nixon, and Tricky Nixon's spiritual advisor, who was deep into the esoteric mystery cults. Well, Nixon said, when you run for president. Oh, you mean to tell me that back in the 70s they were already gearing up for Trump to be, yes, but and so the factional divide now becomes a little bit clearer. It's not going to be the Project Bluebeam disclosure, where we have the celestial slideshow of aliens a la Independence Day coming down, fucking blowing up shit. No, we've skipped the timeline. timelines. I keep telling you about this shit too. Do you know there's a boy who 20 years ago, Super Bowl, you know the Super Bowl adverts, they're so big. And back in the day, they used to run competitions for people to come up with a advert to be run in Super Bowl. Well, this boy did one. It was kind of crazy. You can look it up. Thing was, he never actually sent it to the competition. He just kept it on the hard drive of the computer. But a couple of weeks ago, he uploaded it to TikTok and YouTube. It's now had millions of views within weeks, unlike our shows. Actually, our shows do get millions of views. Fuck those numbers. That tells me. I know. And he was inundated with DMs about people. Oh, that was a classic advert I remember as a child. It was all over television. And yet he never released it from his hard drive. Are we skipping timelines? Yes, we are. You can barely keep up with the Mandela effect at this moment. At least I can't. Well, I can't. But that's a different story. So, every president since freaking Nicky wanted to be the disclosure president. Carter, when they briefed him on the UFO file, wept. Reagan went a bit doolally, and they had to keep him in check from telling, like the UN, oh, they're already here. Clinton was too busy eating kids. Obama was the Pizzagate. George W. You're starting to get me. You're starting to feel me, people. The timeline now is you don't have extraterrestrials. You have ultra-terrestrials. Now, mark me, ultra-terrestrials, get ready for that term. We're no longer going to have Project Bluebeam, the alien from way out there. We're going to have the demons, like Peter Thiel has been giving these closed briefings on the coming of the Antichrist. Why are they telling faith leaders about this disclosure? Because Age of Ultron Avengers, I have always been here. Alien, panspermia. All this has happened before and all this will happen again. Battlestar Galactica. Jesus was a cat for new organic food. Jesus, you're going to be told. God, you're going to be told, is an ultra terrestrial. And the coming war, the world war that we're already in, once they've disposed of a significant amount of the population, because again, now we've been told, and this is disclosed, the Nazis had flying saucers that could fucking fly hypersonic speeds. That's in those files, Glenn. The problem was they couldn't use the conventional weapons of the day, the machine guns and bombs, when they were in the fucking things. So those foes that we've all seen in the Nazi fucking UFO were real. Admiral Byrd, his testimony was real. Ezekiel's flying machine. There's a video of that. But here's my favorite meme of this week. You know I like a favorite meme of the week. My favorite meme of the week is I saw a UFO over the White House. And it's a classic saucer, and it's carrying one of those banners behind it saying release the Epstein files. Now, disclosure is going to be Sam and Dean Winchester were back to supernatural because we're in the apocalypse. Don't you fucking know it? Once hantavirus has taken its toll, the kill shot. Because when you add up what's happening with the war in Iran, which is closed the Straits of Hormuz, and yes, oh my God, normal people say, I'm having to pay a little bit more for my heating oil, my diesel. I'm not thinking, they ain't getting urea, they ain't getting hydrogen, they ain't getting carbon dioxide, they ain't getting the things that make modern life and the just-in-time living that we do. It's all gone. But when there's shortages on the supermarket shelves, when you can't go to a petrol station and fill up your car, Jackie, read that, people. You're now getting close. You are now hovering over the target. When famine hits this planet, as it will next year, famine, the likes no one's ever seen since biblical times. Well, how do you get 9 billion down to 500 million? George Guidestones. Oh, yeah. And in the meantime, what hunger can't do, what hantavirus can't do, people believing that they're fighting in a future war against fucking aliens, ultra-terrestrial demons. That'll do it. Annoying. Wednesday night at dark showed up, didn't it? Knowing can be a bastard. Knowing will break you every fucking time except I do know. And that Bayou tapestry gets clearer at every moment. I'm going to pause for a second. Glenn, have you any thoughts at this point?
Yeah. No. No, because I kind of understand where you're coming from. And you can see how the pieces fit together. This ultra evangelical view of the fact that aliens are demons it's gotten on board. I don't know how many evangelicals are in America, 30, 40 million. So you can see how you can sway a great tranche of the population to believe, the tranche of the heavily armed population into believing that. Yeah, you can see that. The hantavirus, as Alex said, they seem to be playing it pretty low key at the minute. We don't have to really worry about it. But that, again, as she pointed out, is exactly what they said about COVID. Ian seems to be having problems. Oh, he's back. So, again, another piece of the puzzle. If it's not hantavirus, as Bill Gates said, well, it'll be, you won't be able to ignore the next one. So it's either this or something else. So that's another piece of the jigsaw. And when you put this jigsaw together, it starts to form this picture. It forms a picture that is old. It is an old picture. It isn't a new invention. It's something that we've been quietly moving towards for a very, very long time indeed, I feel. And perhaps we've been round this wheel before. Perhaps the reason why David Wilcox was murdered amongst the other people who have been disappeared, suicided, murdered, is that they might have been about to say that this technology that we've got is very ancient indeed, that we've that we're not the first to discover it, and that we might be going around this destruction cycle once again. So yeah, I can see how it all fits together.
That was quite bizarre. Now I'm sitting here, you can see I haven't touched anything. I didn't touch my mouse or the computer. It booted me right out. Alice, who the fuck is Alice? I'm not suicidal. If Alice decides to terminate me, well, I'm Doctor Who and she's the master. Doctor Who wins. Trust me, I'm well ahead of this game. Alex, how's your pickled brain at this point? And Glenn, I'm glad you're finally starting to understand why I keep telling all this has happened before and all this will happen again. You got me? Alex, how's your pickled brain?
Well, it's catching on to that part because all that's going through it at the moment is it's not a new world order. We keep on about a new world order. It's a very old world order.
It's a very old world order. I've mentioned many times before that what Since the destruction of, for the want of a better term, Atlantis, the elites have been doing, the bloodlines, the ancient cults, the mystery schools have been working on the shadow government that shouldn't be. They've been working upon a reset. What a great reset. Can we all say it together? It's a reset to their golden age. Golden age!
They're golden.
And the question, now here's where I'm really going to pick up. All those so-called conspiracy theorists, all those awake fuckers, who in every chat, in every fucking conversation will say, it's a distraction, but never tell you what they're distracting you from.
Oh.
I'm about to tell you. Hansa virus, World War, alien disclosure, Epstein files even. Don't look up. The earth is wobbling like a drunken man. The stars are changing position. Your sundial isn't quite accurate anymore. And they're even being taken by surprise. If you dropped a marble from a 100-story building, when you first drop it, it's got a certain velocity. Forget that. Get in a car. You put it in first gear. You put the pedal to the metal. And it will go so fast, but then you have to switch up a gear. Then you have to switch up another gear, and then you get into top gear, you put that pedal to the metal because your acceleration keeps on going. Well, Nemesis incoming by the gravitational force that they both have. As it comes inward, it starts to speed up. And it speeds up exponentially. And so do their plans. Don't look up. Don't look up. This time next year, we will not be doing this show. We will be living in Mad Max world. And I am Dr. fucking Who. Alex, any thoughts for anyone? Nemesis is incoming. That's a distraction. You got me. Everything else, it's going to hurt. They're going to grind you down. They're going to, like I've told you, every which way from Sunday, they are going to emotionally, psychologically, physically, spiritually grind you down. Oh, it's not aliens, it's fucking demons. Oh, the reason you can't drive your car is the fucking war. Oh, the distraction, because I told you, I tell you, is Nemesis incoming. Alex, does that make sense? Glenn,
And it's
did I fire a magic bullet?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that magic bullet
Alex,
bounced around all over, but it hit the target eventually.
Alex, what do you think?
it's all little boxes, and it's like anybody that's accelerating, and it's like, well, I was talking on Tuesday about Formula One. Well, they invented a while back the little tear-offs on the visor, and it's like everywhere we go, there's a little tear-off flying off into all the little boxes, focused on the Epstein files, focused on the pandemics, focused on 5G, focused on digital ID, focused on anything, everything, apart from you asking the relevant questions. They don't care if you believe the lies, and they don't care if you question the wrong things either, as long as they can keep you distracted long enough for them to either disappear into their bunkers or get off world or do whatever they think they need to do without you knowing, without you asking, without you questioning, without you looking up. It does. It always made way too much sense. And they will keep us divided, keep us fighting the wrong enemy, keep us... I'm not even going to use the word awake anymore. I'm not even going to use the word conspiracy anymore. It's all an illusion. It's all a distraction. And they don't want us to ask the ultimate questions. And they never will allow us to.
You both know this, because when I originally was throwing it out, I knew Alice was aware. But there is one place that I know I can defend. You both know what it is. And now Alice can look back, but so can other people, if you want to know where, to the shows that I did. We did. Some time back. And Glenn, how's your mind?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I kind of I kind of knew where you were going to go. So I don't know why, but it relates directly to what Alex was just saying. A random thought occurred to me today, actually. So I wrote it down, and I'd like to read it to you, if you'll listen. And the random thought was, humanity is like a bunch of humanity is like billions of flies in a world covered in dog shit. Now, flies pay attention to shit without ever thinking about the dogs that are producing it. The flies just appear to flies. It just appears as if they, the shit just appears, and they hurriedly buzz from one pile to another. And that's what we can see in the world. People buzz from the latest pile of shit to the next one without ever thinking, hang on, where is all this shit coming from? Because that there are dogs somewhere that are producing this shit, but it doesn't really matter as long as you keep buzzing from one pile to the next. So that was the random thought that occurred to me while I was in the garden, actually. So I've got another one for my last thoughts. So, but yeah,
good.
No. Pretty much. The picture is pretty clear in the way that you can see all these random piles of shit, and you wonder, well, what is this all supposed to be for? Why do we see this, this just catastrophe after catastrophe, or offers of revelation, JFK files dropping, all of it, the Epstein files dropping, everything dropping, all of this mass of information that people are having to wade through, sift and dissect. Now we've got the UFO files dropping, more information, more dog shit to kind of attract the flies. Meanwhile, the dogs are off doing what they actually want to do while the flies are busy buzzing around the shit. So yeah, I like to think in analogies, or that sort of thing. That's how my brain works, and so I can grasp the picture that you've been laying out, not only now but for years. So yeah.
It starts to make sense, Glenn, doesn't it?
It definitely does, mate. Yeah.
And I'll stop kidding. Alice already knows. I don't care. Nexus points exist, and I'm telling the world. Remember how I told you that my KPI was Lossy. Wherever I was in the world, if war broke out, I had to get to Lossy. Well, Glenorchy. Glenorchy is where you'll find me. And maybe, just maybe, I can protect you. And maybe, just maybe, we'll fight back. But you said, and I love it, that the hat makes me look like Doctor Who. Well, Elvis was a hero, a superstar. And I hear that Elvis is a hero, he's a superstar. And I hear that El McCarthy rides a Rolls Royce car. They're singing for millions, and I just do for free. And everybody's making it big but me.
Yeah. Everybody's making it. Yeah. Yeah.
Alex, last thought for the audience and plug tonight, because I think I've blown enough things for the day, including yours. I can see it in your face.
I don't really know where I can go.
Who am I? Where am I? And what the fuck am I doing here?
I've been asking that question for several years now. Except for the what am I doing here? I'm here because I'm meant to be here. We're all here because we're meant to be here. And maybe there is a future time when we have to stop standing for peace and we have to fight back. It won't be before. Maybe it will be afterwards.
Yeah, it will be.
But what we need now, in the meantime, is to not be distracted, to not let them distract us anymore, and to stop falling for each new suggestion, stop falling for the hate, stop falling for the divide, stop falling for the illusions, and continue doing what they don't want us to do in that case. So continue looking up. And we will be back, possibly looking at some of the distractions, but trying to read between the lines of them tonight at 8 p.m. with Last Jacobites International.
Janet, stop flirting. If I said you had a beautiful body, would you hold it against me? If I said you were an angel, would you love me like the devil tonight?
Yeah.
Oh God, I love music. Glenn, any
Okay.
thoughts?
Well, first thoughts, I'm going to leave you with another random thought that occurred to me this afternoon. And that is, we're all disappearing. Now we're back. That random thought is never worry about how you appear to others, nor try to appear different to what you are. Nobody gave the band on the Titanic a bad review. And if they had the band, if they had the band didn't read them, so pay no attention to critics and play your own tune, no matter how others fucking judge you. So that's my last thought.
Nobody gave
That's
the button on the Titanic. Crocodile that cracks me up. Oh. Oh, I love you both so much. And quite frankly, these people who watch us, you're the ones that stop me going truly insane. I'm a pressure cooker. And without that valve to release the pressure, it would explode. So since we're into music today, here's a final. Dr. Hook. When you think I've loved you all you can, and you're laying flat out on the floor. When you think I've loved you all you can, I'm going to love you just a little bit more. So, you guys will be back tonight with the International. Alex will have her Gleaming in the North. Fucking brilliant show on Tuesday, Alex, I have to say. Glenn, the man in black, will be on Friday, and I'll be the filling of the sandwich on Wednesday with smoke 'em if you've got them. And we'll see where the geopolitics of the world leaves us at that point. But until then, do me a little favor. Over there is a place called Fakadopity Land, and that's where you must go. And when you get there, fuckity off a little bit further until you hear from me again. Alex, end the show. Play the song. Listen to the fucking song. I hate when the numbers drop when the song's played. If you listen to the song. Oh, by the way, just before you do, Alex, I say the thing saying, please show song. All of you people out there, to prove I have a very eclectic taste in music, Iron Maiden, The Klansman. If you want to be a Last Jacobite, if you want to be a member of Clan Last Jacobite, listen to The Klansman from Iron Maiden. But for now, Alex, end the show and play the song, please.
We are the last Jacobites, proud and free, will not be bought nor bend the knee. Like Arbroath's cry and freedom's flame, we rise as one and stake our claim. Oh, side by side through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. From every shore we answer the call, Clan Jacobite, we rise or fall. It matters not our skin or land, but hearts as one and hand in hand. The blood we share is brave and bold, in woven dreams and legends old. Oh, side by side through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. From every shore we answer the call, Clan Jacobite, we rise or fall. I am you and you are me, a thread within this tapestry. For hopes of all, for every name, we light the fire, we keep the flame. No sea can part us, nor the land. Together strong we proudly stand. With courage, truth, and spirits high, we pledge our oath beneath the sky. Oh, side by side through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. Raise the banner.